I have a history with my own devil and have met a new man that reminds me of him. How do I tell the difference between a charming narcissist that makes me feel good and a genuine man with a real connection? Ooh, juicy. Well, here's another phenomenon happening right now. The narcissist and the empath. So it's a beautiful combination that just turns out to be really miserable because the empath wants to give and give and give, and the narcissist wants to take and take and take. But here's the dynamic, and here's how you could tell quite easily in the first meeting with this person. What are they talking about? Are they talking about themselves? Are they asking you any questions? How do you feel when they ask you the questions? Do you feel like they're filling your cup and boasting you in a way that you're like feeding into this real dynamic? What are the topics that they're bringing up? Like, really tune into the topics. If it's all about them, if they're, telling you all these stories about how much money they make, how successful they are, people who are really grounded and within themselves don't need to be identified with all of these parameters about characteristics that they are. But, I used to laugh. Many years ago, I lived in Orange County, and blessings to Orange County. I still love Orange County. But it's a little bit on the, let's say, materialistic side oftentimes. And out and about, the three questions that would oftentimes come up when I was single back then and kind of in the scene of it all, was, what do you do for a living? What do you drive? And which side of the 5 freeway do you live on? Like, are you on the 405 or the 5? And so it gave you some proximity to like how close they were to the ocean. And what it all rolled up to was really them calculating your value and worth based on income and monetary success in a job that seems, for all intents and purposes, well, maybe not normal, but that they can get their head around and go, oh, okay, so you're successful, or let me put you in this camp now, or let me put you in that camp. Okay, so I digress a little bit. I digress a little bit from the narcissist empath, but I think it's so important because it's how do we feel about the questions that people are asking us? Because if it's those questions, then in some cases, yes, they get asked just because people are nervous and they don't know what else to ask. But come up with questions that you want to lead with when you meet new people. It doesn't have to be romantic people. Questions that you go, oh, if I ask this question, it's just going to give me a little bit better idea of where they are in their life, right? Where they are on their awakening journey. And I'm going to say that because I know that people listening to my show are on their awakening journey. That's why we're here. We're here to transform relationships, and relationship lessons into love. We want to find out what's that juicy life lesson that I called this person in to help me with. So yeah, I think really, really tune in. And if that person is wanting to get to know you very genuinely with questions that aren't like boasting you and overly complimenting you, but they're just really acknowledging and like tuning into you as you're speaking, that gives you a real feel for who they are. And, when I was saying, like, come up with a couple of questions that you feel would be really grounded into, yes, sort of again, I don't want it to sound like it's a judgment because we're not trying to then place them into a bucket. But, maybe it's something that's deep or maybe it's something that's basic. Like when they say something about a situation like, oh, why do you think you've called that into your soul's plan in this lifetime? It might be something like that. Maybe that's a little too much, right? Admittedly. But maybe it's something that's more basic, just like, oh gosh, why do you think you called that situation into your life? Or, wow, that's so wonderful that you've been able to do X, Y, and Z. How has that really impacted your life as a whole? right? So you ask some questions that asks them to dig a little bit deeper in vulnerability and sharing with you what might give you some insight into where they're at. And if they're a vibrational match to where you are. Because a lot of times in this narcissist empath connection, the narcissist sees the light in the empath and wants it and wants to find a way to extrapolate it. And the empath, a lot of times, until we really wake up and get this, is willing to just give and give and give. And oh, yes, and I want to help you. I want to help you. I want to help you. And I'm just suggesting that we need to have some boundaries on this helping thing to let people go do their own journey. And so, yeah, use your discernment, use your gut innate feeling. And if you're not sure, then I would back off. I would just say, yeah, not sure. Note to self, and then navigate it from that perspective that you're not sure, and just be honest with yourself as opposed to giving the person credit where credit isn't due. Oh, I'm sure they're a good person. Well, they may or they may not be. Let them tell you if they are, and they usually do. We just don't want to believe what they say in the first 5 minutes. Please, if you're watching on replay, comment, like, subscribe. You'll get notifications anytime that I'm going live, but it's 11:11 every Sunday Pacific time.